Hi, this is Rochelle with Live in Vibrancy. And although I have taken a bit of a break over the summer, I am back and I am following up with a video that I made previously on boundaries and talking about how they really support your identity shift. I'm also in this video, actually, when I started to put it together, turned out to be quite long. And although I've been known to make a long video or two, I decided to break this one into a couple of segments so that it's more digestible. So in this particular video, I am talking about what boundaries actually are, because the boundaries that we're often taught are not what true boundaries are, and then I'm going to explain why, and why the boundaries that I'm talking about really support your shift in identity, you being able to step into the person who is. I'm going to talk about some of the barriers to boundary setting, and then really touch on how to set boundaries. And then I'm going to expand on that in a further video. And then the final video, I'm going to talk about what to expect when you set boundaries and then how to move through that. So it's been a minute since I've made a video. I've been spending a little time enjoying our summer. We don't get very much of it in Alberta, so I decided to take in as much as possible. And also, we've just had a lot of changes in life, so I've really just been moving through those. And so now I'm back and I have quite a bit of content that I've lined up, so you should see me regularly again. So, okay, let's get to it and talk about boundaries. So powerful boundaries really require you to get out of your head and really get into your body. And so this is something that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to touch on the points of this in each of these 3 videos. But your body is really where your power is. So when you're going to set a boundary, you want to be able to get present to your experience and to be able to go between your protector emotions like anger and defensiveness. These are actually secondary emotions. So anger is like the bodyguard of sadness. Often when people show up with a lot of anger, or their anger is highly triggered, it's because they have a lot of repressed grief that they may not even be consciously aware of. So you want to be sure that you want to understand that when you are showing up and wanting to set a boundary from a place of anger, that you have moved beyond the place of where a boundary should have been set, and sort of you've stepped out of that space, and now you're in a place of protection. And so at this point, in order not to be reactive, and because often when we're reactive, we create what we don't want, you want to be able to drop into your body and find out what you really feel before you respond, rather than reacting. Because when you're coming from a reactive place, you're actually being tossed around by your external environment. You're really not able to embody that saying that circumstances don't matter, because at that moment, you're really allowing circumstances to control you, to determine how you're going to perceive the situation, how you're going to respond to the situation, and a lot of the perceptions that you're going to take away. And oftentimes we take away a lot of limiting beliefs from an experience like that. And so when we're being tossed around by the external environment, we're not consciously creating anymore. You're actually creating in reaction, and you're probably not getting the results you want. So definitely experience your feelings, have your opinions, and also know that conscious creation means that you decide. And so whatever you're deciding in that moment, it's going to be taking you on a trajectory. And so if the trajectory is a negative, hurt space, then that's the direction that you're going. And if you are able to move through those emotions, find out what you're actually feeling, then you can determine where you want to go. Because a lot of times our reactions are from a conditioned response. They're something, or from a wounded space. I mean, I don't really like that word, because we're not actually like broken, but it's a protection mechanism that you have put in place to keep yourself safe. And so you have now come to a place where you feel like you need to keep yourself safe. And I'm not saying that there is never any time that you need that, but when we want to be setting boundaries before we hit that point. So the first thing to understand about your boundaries and how they support your identity shift is that boundaries really require you to know who you are, because boundaries are about you. They're not about someone else. So if a friendship or family relationship or an intimate relationship really looked and felt the way you're creating it to, how would you be thinking or feeling or behaving? And now this doesn't mean just turning a blind eye to being treated poorly, to abuse, but this does require you to be able to be really objective about the situation and really recognize that boundaries are not about needing someone to do or be different so that you can be okay. And if you're in a situation where you need someone to be different so that you can be okay, a few things are happening. Either you shouldn't be in that situation because your safety really is at risk, or what's the other thing that's happening is you're in essence telling that other person that either you don't know your own boundaries or you're unable to hold them. So then you make it their responsibility to do it for you. I mean, this is often where resentment can build, or where we find ourselves unconsciously creating relationships that we really don't want. Our relationships are going in a direction that we don't want, and we're feeling resentful. And you're not consciously creating when you put the responsibility on someone else, because consciously creating means that you decide, and that means you are radically responsible for how you show up and for noticing your own patterns and for challenging your perceptions. And so boundaries are you responding to what you like and what you don't like. Basically, what feels good and what doesn't feel good. So boundaries can look a lot of ways, but they're an expression of what you do or don't want, what you will or will not do. And when something doesn't feel good, or you feel like you have to give yourself away, you have to become someone different, and this is where it's very nuanced. So I'm just going to say what I'm going to say, and then maybe I'm going to explain a little further. But when something doesn't feel good, or you feel like you should get something in exchange, that's an indication that you actually need to express a boundary. Or when you need to be someone very different from who you are, and I don't mean when you are showing up as angry and resentful or controlling. Those things are never going to create a loving, connected relationship. I mean when you essentially have to give up your dreams or the things that you value in order to be able to be in this relationship. Then these are times, this is an indication when you actually need to express a boundary, or you really need to be asking yourself, who am I living for? So an example might be, so let's say you're creating a relationship with someone and you show up, you want them to, you want to feel loved, you want to feel appreciated, but you're over functioning in the relationship. You're not leaving any space for them to then do the things that you want. So you are in essence creating the relationship you don't want over and over and over again. And often we overfunction from a place of fear, from this place of, if I don't do these things, that person will leave me. Because in essence, we are trying to earn love. But in doing so, we're actually taking a relationship and we're turning it into a job. We're making the things that we do obligatory rather than doing them because we want to do them. Other ways, and so in essence, we're actually crossing our own boundaries by either not stepping back and just allowing someone else the space to just appreciate us, um, or not being able to express our needs. And a lot of time, the reason we don't express our needs is because we've either been conditioned that our needs didn't matter, or we spent so much of our lives trying to earn love and please other people that essentially we are continually abandoning ourselves and often have such a limited relationship with self, we don't even know what our needs are. It's very hard for us to articulate them until we feel hurt and angry. And often all we needed to do was really tell other people what it is that we want. But sometimes that brings up that fear. And so these fear is the number one reason that people don't set boundaries. Fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of someone else's emotional response, not being able to just be and let them have their emotional response and recognize that that's not actually your responsibility unless you are actively going out to hurt someone, you're intentionally doing something to hurt them, their emotional response is not your responsibility. That's actually their responsibility. It's about the meaning that they're making. Other ways are when one partner is showing up inconsistently and we're not willing to walk away. And again, that's a fear of loss. Now, if you were showing up as the person who has it, right now, you're showing up as the person who has exactly what you have. You have to follow what your own inner guidance is telling you, not the stories in your head. You need to be able to move away from those because those are often going to take you in the wrong direction. And if you are not able to say, this doesn't really work for me, this is what I want, then you, in essence, are agreeing to what you're getting. You are, in essence, unconsciously creating or contributing to creating what you're getting because people respond, they match and mirror you. And so, however you're responding, if you are responding as, yes, I will accept this, yes, I will tolerate this, then essentially, you're saying yes to this. You are saying, yes, I want more of this and I will accept this. And again, the same reason that people don't set these boundaries is fear of loss. And now the issue is you can set the boundary, but if you're setting the boundary from a state of fear, if you've watched any of my other content, you know that you are in essence going to create that because we show up in a state of being and we create from that space. You really came here to learn how to work with energy and to create the life that you want. And that starts with connecting to the energy in your own body. Because your body is the vehicle through which you experience reality. If you aren't managing that energy, it's going to appear as though life is taking you in ways that you can't control. So if you're struggling to set boundaries and understanding that they're about who you are, I want you to slow down and tune into your body and notice how you feel. Because the reality is, if you want to go faster, slow down. And so that really takes me to the last bit about really, really being able to move through this. Because what's happening is over and over and over and over again, you're self-abandoning from a place of fear and lack. And when you self-abandon, the world reflects that back to you. People do not give you what you want. No one will ever love you more than you love yourself. If you don't love you enough, then in essence, other people pick up on that. And if you don't love you, then why would they? So that's why it's really important to begin to build that relationship with yourself. Being embodied, being in your body is one of the most important steps in setting boundaries. Not only because it allows you to determine what it is you want and what it is you don't want, because you do have to be able to get under that protector system. You have to be able to get under the anger and the resentment and the limited stories that are running. This person doesn't care about me. This person doesn't value me. I don't matter, or whatever that fear story, that limitation story is, because you made that story, you made that determination at another point in your life, and this is just life loops. We run in energy patterns. We run basically in patterns of experience over and over and over again. And you have to choose something new, not just mentally, but energetically, from a state, from a place of your state of being. And this is essentially embodiment allows you to gauge and also maneuver your own state of being, because sensation precedes manifestation. And so essentially, you want to be able to get into your body, breathe, put all of your attention on whatever that uncomfortable feeling is. And most often when we're dealing in relationship, the uncomfortable feeling will show up in your throat chakra, in your heart chakra, and your solar plexus chakra. And this is because, as I've talked about before, but I suppose not everybody will have seen all the content that I've put out, and not all of it's available anymore. But the throat chakra, this is where we feel understood or heard, where we feel we're able to speak our truth. And when that is clenched, and the throat chakra is this whole area, so when there's tension in there, contraction, it's demonstrating that you have contracted energy, that you have beliefs that do not support being able to express your needs, being able to express what you will and will not accept. The heart chakra, this is our point of connection with others. And so often when we feel, when we're in fear, when we're in rejection, when we're in a space of protection, we will put up a wall. There's a lot of clenching. And the solar plexus, this is basically our self-esteem, our personal power. And so you want to be able to put all of your attention on these points, because that's what stops the story, is getting into your body and putting all of your awareness on the energy in your body, so that and then most people want to make the feeling go away. And that's not the intention. The feeling will leave. There are ways to get the feeling to go, but you don't want to start with rejection, because you're immediately going into more resistance. And so essentially, you want to put all of your attention, you want to relax your body and breathe and just let that feeling be there. Because you've most likely been rejecting it again and again and again and again, and what we resist persists. And so you want to be able to breathe and just let it be there. This also raises your ability to be with negative emotions, because positive and negative emotions, you're supposed to feel them both. And you can feel positive emotions to the capacity that you allow yourself to feel negative emotions, because they run along the same energy meridians. So if you're blocking one, you're muting the other. And you, in essence, are then contracting your own personal energy. And so when you feel these uncomfortable feelings, you want to be able to use this to move that through, so that you can come to a calmer, neutral space and speak your needs and speak your boundaries, and not from a place of fear or a place of lack. And for some of us, for some of you, there'll be more steps. There'll be more to do with that. But I have other content on that, or I'll be speaking about some other things. I have some exercises that I'm going to bring into my Facebook group over the next couple of weeks, just to help people move through these experiences, and to really be able to allow themselves to step into being the person who has it. Because if you're coming from fear that you don't have it or that you'll lose it, you are not being the person who has it. And a lot of that really is just stuck energy, or energy patterns that don't serve you, that served you in the past and got you where you are, but they will not get you where you want to go. Okay, so essentially, I just will wrap this up with just talking about how we want to build that sense of self. It's really important to build a strong self-concept. And that's done by having a solid relationship with yourself, with who you are, with what you want, with what you don't want, what you will accept and what you will not accept. And it doesn't need to be done with anger, because again, once you've stepped into anger, you are already coming from a place of hurt. And so you have already self-abandoned. And so one of the tools that you can begin to use to really learn who you are, to really determine this, is to just ask yourself spend 5 to 10 minutes every morning and ask yourself questions. What do I want? What do I want today? What do I not like? Review the day before and determine what it is that you don't like. Not to focus on it, not to really reinforce it, but to really understand, how did I feel there? And then to understand, well, what could I have done differently? You want to begin to, what can I do more of in my life? What should I be doing less of in my life? And really begin to ask yourself questions to get to know you. What are your values? What is it that you want? What is it that you fear? And to really begin to spend that time beginning to understand yourself. And then also, this will allow you possibly, depending on which level of consciousness you're falling into, and I have a video coming out on that, to really be able to see your own limiting stories. Journaling can be really powerful to allow us to uncover some of our most limited self. Okay, so I just want to reiterate this by reminding you that so if I do this, if I tune in and I determine what it is that I want, and the other person doesn't do what I want, will I feel good or will I feel bad? And then choose from there, right? So if I'm going to go into a situation and I'm going to do something and I'm expecting someone to do something for me, or I'm hoping that my action will cause them to do something for me, but maybe I haven't even expressed that. If they don't do that for me, will I feel good or will I feel bad? And then from that answer, if the answer is I will feel bad, then I shouldn't take that action. I shouldn't do that thing. You always want to show up for yourself, because in that situation, if you just decide to do it, knowing that if they don't respond in the way you want, you're going to feel badly, you haven't shown up for yourself. You've abandoned yourself. And so